Welcome back to Whitt Acres. It's time for a garden tour. If you saw the last garden tour, then you know all the different sections I have here in the gardens. So I'm going to try and keep this one a little bit shorter and just show what's looking nice and what progress I made this week. And as always, we got Echo Pup out here tagging along. If you are new to the channel, I'm Cody, this is Echo, and we are gardening here in Western Pennsylvania, Zone 6A. Down here in the island garden, we are getting some beautiful blooms off of the irises, the allium, and the columbine. Now, unfortunately, I don't really have any names for these irises, as I've got them from different people that had them in their gardens, and as they've dug them up to split them off, I've taken some of their extras. So I've been planting those and collecting as many different colors as I can. So I don't have actual names for them. I pretty much just call them whatever I feel like they look like. The purple allium is still doing really well, and I think I have some white allium popping up that's just not blooming yet. The first one here I call the Renaissance iris. It has kind of a yellow and purple color scheme. It kind of looks like a Renaissance dress to me with the frills on it. It's a really beautiful color. In from that we have this peaches and cream looking one, which has a really big tongue to it, nice frills as well. Very deep orange tongue or beard, whatever you want to call that in the iris. There is one behind it that just hasn't opened yet. Looks to be a purple color, but I'm not sure how it looks on the inside. It looks to be lighter than this one. This one has a deeper purple than the other one. That one looks to be a little bit more lighter, kind of like the allium. So this one has some purple and yellow to it. If you have a good name for this one, I am ready to hear it. Put it in the comments down below. What are you doing, bud? It's a warm day, huh? Look at that belly. You can't pass that belly up, puppy. Yeah, good boy. I also have these smaller irises, these yellow ones. They naturalize a little bit better here. They kind of spread out, as you can see. That's what all of these are coming out of the garden. These ones here that are more frilly and bigger, they clump together a little bit better. These ones actually spread from seed pretty good, as you can see them blowing out of the bed, and the rest of them kind of just clump and grow in their spot. I tried to do some weeding through here. In the last video we did just add some yuccas in here, because I try and fill this up with a lot of perennials to give color all season. So we added a couple yuccas in here for that time period. Back here we have a beautiful orange one. I think this is the only orangish red one that I have. Look how bright that orange is. Orange all the way around, even a brighter orange center. I think we're gonna call this one the apricot iris. There's more yellow ones that are gonna be popping up and blooming right here, but as we come this way, we have a couple more irises along the pathway. To the left of the path here, we have the Barney iris. It's a nice dark purple one with a yellow center, and it even has some lines in there for texture. And then we have a slightly different purplish, almost to the blue side. Kind of looks more purple on camera right now than it does in person. It's actually pretty decent blue color, especially up here. That's like a dark blue, rich blue. And this one, yeah, that's nice. This group was getting swallowed up by the gold globe arborvitae, so a couple years ago I pulled them all out of there, and they've been doing a lot better ever since. To add a little bit of symmetry, we have the same iris on this side of the path, but behind that is my probably favorite iris that we have here. And look how dark this is. I'll show the progression. We have a nice tight bud right here, very dark on the tip, and then it's starting to open up, still just straight black. And then we have a tinge of purple as it gets to this stage, coming right there on the bottom. And then as it opens fully, it's just a gorgeous deep dark black with very deep purple to it as well. I'm sorry the camera's not working too well here, but look at that beautiful iris. Definitely a favorite. Complementing all the purple irises is the purple columbine with just a gorgeous flower. It looks like a bell hanging down, but whenever you look into it, it's very cupped and perfect for some hummingbirds and butterflies. We also have another columbine on this side, and I got a volunteer, 2 of them actually, so I'll be moving these and putting them around the property. I really love getting volunteers from the perennials I have here on property. I've only been gardening for a few years now, and I'm trying to collect as many plants as I can so that they can start growing up, and then I can split them out and spread them all around the gardens. I don't have a lot of money to be going out and buying a ton of plants, so I'm trying to collect as many as I can from friends and people that I talk to, as well as growing out all my perennials, splitting them every year so I can actually grow them out again and split them to multiply my plants as much as I can. A lot of the hostas here do really well with that. I just split up a bunch of yuccas as well, and the irises, we've been doing that, splitting those around. So there's a lot of perennials that I can keep cutting up in pieces and then replanting them to get more out of all my plants that I already have. Hostas do really great here, so I have a bunch of different varieties of hostas that I've been trying to really grow out and just put them everywhere, because hostas are beautiful. They have beautiful different textures of the leaves, but they also have different flowers on them. So I'm trying to get as many of those as I can and just put them all around. Just starting to open up is the rhododendron over the bench. That should open up here soon, probably over the next week. And for next week's garden tour, it's probably going to look really good. It gets a lot more shade than the other ones with these two maple trees and the hemlock surrounding it. I have some more hostas coming up here in ferns, trying to shape up this area. And underneath the burning bush, we have some coral bells or heuchera coming up. We have some red and some purple, don't we, puppy? Yeah, we do. Those will be coming up, and they have some buds on them right now. They should be blooming here soon. They'll just be a very delicate little flower, but I like the striking foliage that it gives, and the blooms are just a bonus. Also coming into bloom right now is the burning bush. It's not as showy as everything else, but it is in full bloom right now, and the pollinators know it. Coming out of bloom right now is our mountain ash tree. It's been doing a lot better since we cut off the dead trunk of it. But I'm not sure if it's going to do the berries this year. It really has a problem with putting on berries. We would really love to see all the little red berries on it, but it only gets maybe 2% of what it really should get. So we're not replacing this one just yet. It is doing really well growing, but it's just not fruiting the way we want it to. So we're going to keep it here for a little bit longer. I have a Braxton Brown Beauty magnolia tree that I was thinking of replacing and putting it into this spot, but I might have to find a new location for that. What do you think, puppy? Yeah, get comfortable, bud. After Mother's Day celebrations, I had about an hour before I had to go close up the barn. I decided to come out here, pull all the fabric off of this poplar bed, get all the weeds dug up out of there, and put a fresh layer of topsoil across the whole bank here. This is a new garden just a couple years ago I put in. Mainly I put this in to raise the soil up because we have some surface roots coming away from this poplar, and I was running them over with a mower and I didn't want to hit them anymore. I figured I'd just put in a garden bed, raise the soil up, and put in a couple plants, kind of dress up the area and make it look a little bit nicer. And I think it's working out well. We just didn't get it mulched last year, so we had the fabric across it. It kind of blew around, covered up the plants, and it ended up killing some of them. We still have some sedum in here, hosta, and the Carl Forrester grass. And I also have a orange rocket barberry and yet another yucca that we just plugged in. Once we get all the perennials in here, I'm going to get it all mulched off, and I think we're going to go with red this year in this garden, just from this poplar tree down the driveway line to the yellow maple, the red maple, and then to the patio, just so we have a striking red line going along the driveway here. I'm not a fan of red mulch. I don't think it has good contrast with all the colors of the flowers whenever they're blooming, and I don't like the red and the green. It's not Christmas during the summer. So I talked him out of using the red mulch in pretty much all the other gardens, but he wants his red area, so I've decided to make it this one. I think it'll look the best here, just a nice strip, and then the rest of the gardens we're going to go with the compost and natural wood chips. I don't want to buy a lot of things, but we are going to have to bring in some compost this year while my compost piles from all the animals and the garden scraps are still composting and getting ready to a nice fine material. Some of the gardens are depleted of soil, so I want to get a nice top layer of compost on them, a couple inches of compost to replenish the garden before we put wood chips or mulch over top of it. But I got to do some compromising, and he wants his red mulch, so we're going with this area red this year. Up here at the pergola garden, I did get some elephant ears in, and I even put a banana tree in here. Nothing's coming up yet because we're still just getting over the colder nights. Right now, a lot of other things should be starting to pop up, so I'll be happy to see some of these popping up. I have them marked with sticks, but if they didn't survive overwintering in the garage, I won't be surprised. I've lost some things before trying to overwinter them, digging them up, putting them in the garage, drying them out, and then replanting them. I've had some bad luck before. I've been trying to figure out better ways to do it, but we'll just see. I still have some dahlias in the garage that I need to plant, but I'm waiting on that compost to come before I can fill up my beds and get all those planted. So their viability is probably getting depleted day by day without them being in the ground, but I really can't put them in the ground yet. I'd like to get a load of compost earlier in the season so I'd have it ready in all the beds to plant out whenever danger frost passes, but everything else kind of gets ahead of it and I end up pushing the compost back. So I have this plant here, which I'm not sure what the name of it is. I ended up losing the tag for it. It's a blue star something. I can remember whenever I got it, it's definitely a blue star. It has kind of blue coloring to it. If I get the pH right, it'd be a little bit more blue. It's a really nice fern-like foliage and soft, so I really like that. I really liked ferns, so it kind of appealed to me on that side. But it's finally coming into a nice bloom and we're going to see some flowers on it. Little tiny stars. Next week we're definitely going to be having some peonies blooming. The ants are already on there doing their job and the peonies are getting plump. What are you hiding in here for, puppy? Trying to get some shade. I do have all the boards stained for the pergola expansion. So I don't know if I'll get to it this weekend, but I definitely have that plan to expand the pergola arches on both ends and get that supported before they get big and the wind blows them over again. Here by the patio, we're getting my first poppy to bloom here in the poppy bed. They are naturalized here, so we get a couple of them popping up, you can see. And then I even have a few that are coming up on this side too. The 9 bark in the upper level is also getting ready to bloom, so we're gonna have a nice show next week of different blooms. We have a lot of stuff that's getting ready. Then we have the lupin down here volunteering in the sidewalk crack, just looking gorgeous. That's not my main lupin though. If you watched my tours from last year, you know we have a lupin on the pond bank, and this year is looking better than it's ever looked before. So the lupin here on the pond bank is looking amazing. Just out of first glance, I can count 40 bloom colas actually on there right now. So it's just putting off more than it's ever put off before. And that's gonna keep going for a few weeks now. It's already been a good week to get to this stage and it's actually in full bloom right now. So it's gonna go for a little bit longer before it starts tapering off. You can definitely see why it's one of my favorite blooms. And the bumblebees here are loving it as well. Look at that tiny little bee. Just doing work on that plant. Before I even put the pond in or had even a thought of putting the pond in, I sowed some seeds just from packets that I had left over and I just put them all in this area. The lupin ended up being a perennial and it took. So I don't know if there's 1 or 2 or 3 plants in there. It might be more than one, but it took and came back each year since. So that's about 4 years that this has been coming back and just looking beautiful. So I'm hoping that it keeps coming back. I don't want to get in there and separate it all. I just want it to do its thing for as long as it can. Right beside it, we had a bachelor button come up and it's putting off its first bloom right now too, which has just a gorgeous flower. Look at that. There's so much going on in that thing. And we also have some baby chicks here on the patio again, so check out the homestead channel if you want to see any of the animals here on the property. Beside the pond here in the ramp bed, the irises are doing really well. We also have this hosta spiderwort hybrid mixture here. The roots of the spiderwort and the hosta are mixed together so they come up in the same clump. But the spiderwort's blooming right now. And then we have the irises just putting off a beautiful show this year, and they're all the same color as well. I did have the one here that was a different color, but we got that all switched out and now it's actually putting off some shoots. So hopefully that one's gonna bloom here with the rest and we'll have a nice little show. It's already beautiful, huh, Pop? Next to the greenhouse, we have another color of iris that doesn't come up on the island garden. This one is the funeral iris, I call it, because it reminds me of funeral colors. I don't know what it reminds you of, but let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know. It's actually a beautiful iris though, and it's doing really well up here next to the greenhouse. Down here where we transplanted some of the hostas we were moving, we have the white azalea still blooming as the purple rhododendron is coming into bloom. So both of these get more morning sun than any of the other ones. And you can see they're opening up first. Just gorgeous. I love these rhododendrons. They're really mature. They're about 30 years old. And rhododendrons can get really old, over 150 years old. So I'm trying to keep these nice and healthy, and I'd love to see these keep blooming for the rest of the time I'm gardening here. So growing up, my grandma always had these around her house, and they were always just full of the bumblebees. And we called them the bumblebee plants before I knew they were rhododendrons. I really like these plants. The bees don't bother you because there's just so much work for them to be doing. So they provide so much for the bees and all the pollinators early in the season. So I really love having large mature rhododendrons. I really want to get some more of these around the property, but they are expensive and they don't split like a hosta does. I've been working on cleaning up the side garden here so I can come in with a layer of wood chips and get it all mulched off. We have some peonies in here that are about to bloom, so that'll be nice here soon. We have a couple groups of them. The Pyrrhus mountain plant's doing really nice over there, giving some red color. Even though it doesn't bloom, it still has some nice red foliage to it. Plays well with the barberry. And that barberry is just a mess. Maybe I should shape that thing up. I'll leave it go for now. But as you can see, we got this pretty much weeded out. Another yucca that we plugged into this spot, but it's pretty much weeded and ready for mulch. So I'm working my way around trying to get to this area this week sometime. We do have some salvia blooming down here. Take a moment, check out the salvia coming into bloom. In the front garden underneath the hemlock tree, the real specimen tree for the front yard. Gorgeous size right now. But we have the wagon wheel here and the burning bush carpet that rings it all around. I do have a bleeding heart here in the back that actually came up and is blooming pretty nicely. Where'd you go? Hey pup. I got these from my aunt and I was able to plant some around the ring here. I only got this one and that one to come up. I ended up, oh wait, there's another one. Wait, it looks like here's one, here's another, and here's another. Just have to check through the weeds. I don't think a lot of them came up on this side, mainly because this is the north side and it gets pretty much no sun at all underneath the hemlock tree. So we really only got them on this half of the ring. This is one spot we typically put red mulch, as you can tell, but this has been so depleted over the years of just putting dyed, colored, lifeless mulch on top of it, that this year I really want to layer some healthy compost on it and give some nutrients back to the tree. The dyed red mulch really does nothing for the garden or the soil. I did start all the mulching with the wood chips out here in the front garden. You can see I'm getting them pretty far across the whole front here. I did about 2/3 of it yesterday, and then I still have this front corner to do. It'll take a little bit more work to get it around all the different plants I have up here. This area was more wide open and just spread it. We also have some more peonies up here. I try and put all the perennials in all the gardens, so whenever one thing blooms, all the garden blooms. And the peonies will be coming here next week, so make sure you come back. Pull all this cleavers out. It does really well. I mean, it's a good medicinal herb, but it's still a weed. Got a bunch of it. So sticky too. Get off my peony. The red azalea is coming into its final stages here. We do have some yuccas that we left here in the front garden. The Russian sage is coming back up beautifully, and then we have a bunch of gladiolas popping up in here too. I have to prune back these roses. They did terrible coming back from winter, so I'll be pruning all the dead out of those, getting the volunteer maples out. And we also have the dianthus here on the corner. It was filling up this corner a lot better, but now it's actually competing with all this volunteer burning bush. It's even coming out into the yard. In the front of the house here, we have the hosta garden coming up nice and full this year. I'm actually going to have to do some work on this hosta garden, mainly because the propane tank is right here and the guy's going to have to get in here to access it. And if I leave my plants here, he's going to destroy them. So I'm going to have to move and separate out a few of the hostas. I do want to open this garden up further and bring it into the yard more so I can get a wider border and fill it in a little bit more, give some shape to the house. So I probably will have to do that for now. I do want to make this garden a little bit bigger, but for now I'll probably just stick with rearranging it. I don't have time to get in here and rip up the whole yard yet. We do have the purple passion rhododendrons looking beautiful in the corner here in full bloom. I had to cut half of it off because it died, so I'm not sure how well it's doing in this area. Down here in the vegetable garden, we have one more iris that doesn't appear anywhere else. In the onion bed, we have half of it doing really good from the sets, and then I just plugged in a bunch more from started seed, and they need a little bit more time to take. I need to come actually down here and water this. This weekend, I'm also trying to come down in here and get the pumpkin patch ready. You can see it is nowhere near ready to be planting a pumpkin into it, and I already have my 2 giant pumpkins started that I need to get in the ground. In this bed, we have the garlic and some of the brassicas coming up. Some cauliflower doing well. These ones actually probably could use some water. water. I didn't actually come down here and water any of these, and we haven't had any rain since I planted them either. What is this? This massive red onion right here. What are you doing? This is gonna go to seed. I guess I didn't harvest that last year. Poppy, what are you sniffing? The last iris I have here is this lemon Casper iris. That is not the real name of it. I just made that up, but it is white with a yellow center and beard, and it looks nice with those little lines in it. We also have another funeral iris down here. Some peonies right below it getting ready to bloom. We have another iris that I'm not sure of the color, so we're gonna have to wait on that one. But the other three funeral irises that we planted between the tree line here are doing well. All have buds on them, and the last one's even blooming. I really like the honey locust that it came back. I'm happy that it came back because I really love seeing all the mature honey locusts coming alive in the spring with their bright yellow color. Just a gorgeous show of spring. Still have my raised beds pretty empty here because I don't have my compost to fill them up and get anything planted out yet, as well as the cut flower bed. I only have some Shasta daisy perennials popping up and irises and a lot of volunteer sunflowers as well. So my dahlia is actually going in the cut flower garden this year, so I really need to get that compost so I can fill up that bed. That'll make it a lot easier to plant the dahlias and dig them up in the fall. All right, that's gonna be all for this one. I just wanted to show you all the irises that are blooming. Every week is different here, so make sure you follow along, hit that subscribe button, and if you like the video, make sure you hit that like button before you leave. Let me know what your favorite garden was or your favorite iris in the comments down below. You can see me and Echo on the next one. Thanks for watching. Hey Squat, how you doing, bud? You got your own personal chicken tractor out here, huh buddy?